Welcome to the Screener College Basketball Podcast with your hosts, Mike Randall and Gus Kearns.
Welcome in, listeners, to the Screener College Basketball Podcast, where we're always talking everything college hoops. You could have been anywhere else on the dial, but you chose to be here with us, Mike and Gus, and we appreciate that. Welcome back in, listeners. And Mike, how are we doing with the snow, man? This is like ridiculous. Up here on the East Coast, we've literally have feet of snow on the ground. Mike, are you holding up okay with all the white stuff?
Our loyal listeners should not be surprised by this comment. We're both former runners. Gus in great shape, myself in not as great shape. I have an L4, L5 disc that doesn't exist. So my lower back is very, very weak. Why? Because of hamstrings and super tight and not stretching and subscribing to the stupid theory in college that a racehorse doesn't stretch, right? Okay. But a racehorse doesn't have L4, L5 discs either. If they do, I apologize. Anyway, I digress.
Okay, great.
So I don't have a big piece of property. I just have a driveway that goes down from the street, goes down. So shoveling that is going to be very difficult. So parents years ago got me a snowblower. For all those that are so inclined, 24-inch double stage, whatever that means. I don't even know I've had it. But so I've had that and have used it. And Gus, there are two options to start it. You can use the electrical start or you can use the pull start.
Okay.
And of course, I want to feel manly in the middle of snow with no one watching me. So I've always used the pull start because you get to rip it from lower left to upper right in an aggressive manner that makes you feel like a tough guy, which I am not because I had headgear and glasses growing up as a kid. Fine. Sure enough, Gus, after about, I think 4 or 5 years now, it broke. It snapped in half. And I'd love to tell you is my strength. We know it's not. But I'm sitting there going, probably should have tried the electrical start at some point in the last 1,200 days, right? So I go, okay, here we go. So we tried the electrical start and Gus, embarrassed. I mean, it starts up in literally a nanosecond. So, I was pulling it like 7, 8, 9 times to get it going every single time. Right, you just hit the button, boom, pops right up. It's like starting a car. So yes, that snowblower worked. Very excited about it. Cleared all the snow that we had here on the East Coast, and took the rope and buried it in the backyard and said a little prayer because 150, 200 pulls later. So yes, that's what I do. Snowblower. All you people out there who are so mechanically inclined that I'm not are laughing at me, but it's a true story, folks. That's exactly what happened. I'm not embellishing.
I don't think you're not mechanically inclined. I think you got to.
I'm not.
Snowblower. Great year.
I'm not. Still working on a Phillips head versus a flathead. Okay, whatever.
All right, Mike. All right. I have a more important question for you, Mike. Mike, have you ever just sat down on the court? Have you ever just grabbed a seat on the hardwood? And we're not talking about Coach Huggins and his stool on the sidelines, which is totally cool. Did you ever just take a seat on the court like Coach Beard? It was kind of amazing. It was echoes of Billy Martin kicking dirt on the umpire. It was Bobby Valentine coming back in the dugout with a mustache disguise. It was a pure illustration of the emotions that sports elicit, mid-competition. What happened with Chris Beard? What did you see, and what was going through your mind? Were you entertained? Were you worried?
Well, you've seen me coach, Gus, and I've gotten to those moments. Have I ever sat on the court? No. Okay. I have gotten technicals proudly, but I loved that mid-rant he had enough respect to go over and give Huggins the pound. That was the best part of the whole thing. Screaming, yelling, sitting on the court, teeing back the official, always a move. But then goes, okay, well, I can't, not congratulate Bob on this great win. Okay, let me walk over, give him a pound. Huggins gives him a pound, been there, done that, all good, Chris. Go do your thing. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. It was real. It was emotion. It was in the middle of COVID, man. It was genuinely great emotion. I loved every minute of it.
I think you nailed it. It was real. That was really what his mind told him to do in that moment.
Yes.
Because he was attempting to coach his team to win a game and knew that wasn't going to happen, and the frustration sets in. Yeah, I totally get it. And then, of course, you pointed out the beautiful part of it. He's cognizant enough where, okay, what, I got to go congratulate and make sure that I'm cool with my, the future Hall of Famer coach.
That's correct. Right.
Yeah. Let's just make sure we're good with that. That's good.
I love the coaching fraternity. I love it. I love it. It was like when one of our good friends that listens to the podcast I coached against at local school, and we ended up beating them. And my power forward, who I loved, great post player, couldn't make a jump shot to save his life, but worked with them in the up and under. The key point, Gus, I think you may have been at this game. Key point of the game, about 30 seconds left. He pulled an up and under, Gus, and it was about 5 or 6 steps. Okay. And the refs didn't call it. Okay. And our good friend across the sideline screaming like a crazy guy. And I know we're grabbing beverages after the game. So I go and I hug him and I said the kid's name. I go, oh, he traveled. And he goes, you think so? I go, absolutely. I bought him a beer at the bar. But it's raw, it's raw emotion. It's not personal. It's not personal. He's mad at the officials, but he wants to give props to Huggins, and I love it. It was great. Honestly, it was awesome.
It was kind of awesome. I'm with you. Yeah. The other part of the equation here is we have to analyze a little bit of what's going on with West Virginia. It seems like they have like a little addition by subtraction. Oscar Tshiebwe departs. I put him on a third-team All-America preseason. I thought he was going to be really impactful. And then he transfers. He's off to Kentucky. And Miles McBride looks like an All-America type player. Coach Huggins looks like he might go camping at any moment. It's a great look. Mike, this Mountaineer team, it looks like it could be Final Four good. Where are you with the Mountaineers? And do you feel like they've kind of figured some things out with these newly roles and things being more defined, minus Tshiebwe?
Yep. The first thing Huggins said when Tshiebwe left is they said, what are you going to do? He goes, we're going to win a lot of games. And I think that was a little bit of a shot at Tshiebwe. I loved West Virginia coming into this game. I picked them on the Action app. Since when is Texas Tech favored by 6 over anybody? I love Texas Tech, and I love Chris Beard. Don't get me wrong. But 6? A lot of points for a team that's trouble scoring once in a while. You know what I mean? And they came out from start to finish. They've played great. Look at their last 5 games, Gus. They had that tough run there. Northeastern was the last game that Tshiebwe played. They went to Oklahoma. They lost by 4. They come home. They play Oak State away. Great comeback. They won that one. Texas, Andrew Jones. Great shot for Andrew Jones for so many reasons. Bangs a 3 at the buzzer. They lose that. After that, K-State by 20 on the road. Texas Tech at home, huge win. Onions, McBride, bang. McClung went nutty. Not enough. Florida, home, lost, threw them off the scent. Castleton, dominate inside, go figure. But since then, Iowa State away, a win's a win. Kansas at home by 12. It's 91 on Kansas. I don't care. And then away at Texas Tech. Just a great job by Huggy. He's one of the best. Sustained success. Hugging Deshaun Butler. We've all been there. Love the guy. He's transformed this team mid-year. Not many coaches can do that. And oh, by the way, Gus, who gave Gonzaga their toughest game this year? Huggy Bear did. Let's remember that.
Yep. And then that win looks better and better the more and more wins that West Virginia accrues.
Hell yeah.
For that Gonzaga team, no doubt. Speaking of Final Four selections, Mike, Ohio State looks like a number 1 seed. Looks like they're that good. Us, the podcast, and our great podcast guest, Adam Jardy, talked to Ohio State the last season. And I picked them Final Four last season, preseason. So I think we were a little bit ahead of things there. But Mike, what's been the most impressive element that you've gathered about the Buckeyes in your, college hoops intel here thus far, now that they're on this amazing run inside the Big Ten?
You've always been on the Buckeyes. You're a step ahead of everyone in life. That's just who you are. And you were right on this one. We'll get into the bracket preview that's coming up on Saturday.
Yep.
And I'm going to talk a lot about Ohio State. They are a 1 seed. They are absolutely a 1 seed. They have been kicking Fanny. And the people don't buy in. I said this on the Big Man on Campus podcast last night. The reason people don't buy in is because it's Dwayne Washington, CJ Walker, Justice Suing, John Smith. They don't like those. Kyle Young. Okay. It's names with 3 syllables. That's why you're not buying in. It's not Greg Oden. Okay. It's not Kevin Durant. There's no pizzazz. They're waiting for Dwayne Washington to stop making threes. It's not going to happen. I saw him against Maryland. They got down 9 early. Here comes Dwayne Washington for 3. Here comes Dwayne Washington for 3. He took the third one on a heat check that went ba-ba and bounced in and out. They are for real. They are super well coached. Holtman does a great job. He goes on the pod there with Doster and Goodman, talks about how he got offered the job when he was getting hair plugs. I mean, the guy's as real as it comes. Ohio State, 16-4. I got a lot more stats to give you, Gus, but I want to hear your thoughts because honestly, they're the real deal. Start buying in, folks. I don't care if the guy's name is John Smith. Dwayne Washington can shoot, and they got camaraderie, and they're dangerous. Very dangerous.
I think they're really dangerous. Now, I think we have to take a peek at how they're doing it, and they're doing it with the perfect college basketball pieces. They're doing it with a slightly undersized post player with Liddell, who is absolutely dominant and doesn't mind moving people around with his body. I likened him to a mini Montrezl Harrell, maybe without the burst.
It's a great call. That's right? Montrezl. which I know is not how you pronounce his name, but I just like saying it. Great call.
And then you have CJ Walker, like kind of like the diminutive point guard that maybe is not going to be, your NBA type prototype point guard at 6'5" that can, shoot the three. But I'll tell you what, he runs a really efficient offense and does all the things that he needs to do for this team to be really successful without scoring a ton of points. And I'll tell you what, late game situation, guess what? Walker and Washington, they're not missing from the line. Like they shoot, both of them shoot it over 90%. So what are you going to do then? So I really like the pieces as well. I liked all the pieces they had last year, but I think even from last year's squad, Holtman's put together a puzzle that's been, very, we mentioned Huggy and how he had to deal with some departure. Ohio State is in the same boat. They had to deal with Luther Muhammad, who is a starting guard for them. He transfers out to Arizona State. And then DJ Carton goes over to Marquette, and he's doing nice things over there in the Big East. So he loses two quality starting guards and then brings in, you mentioned Sewing from Cal, CJ Walker's from Florida State. Of course, I loved Seth Towns via Harvard. So he's really put this puzzle together, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and including him in, the best coaches in the country conversation, I think is valid, and we should start. It shouldn't be a big surprise. How about that? It shouldn't be a big surprise that Ohio State is the team that figured things out inside the Big Ten.
Yep. And just pointing it out, Baylor, 6 quadrant 1 wins, 6-0. Gonzaga, 7 quadrant 1 wins, 7-0. Ohio State, 8 quadrant 1 wins, 8-3. Not perfect, but they've played 11 and they've won 8. A lot of wins on the road. Big time here by Ohio State.
Yeah, really like what they're doing. All right, so, we talked West Virginia, and are they Final Four good? Ohio State in for a 1 seed. Let's play a little fortune teller here. If you were filling out the bracket today, this is like a 3-part question, okay? You get your bracket, you get your pencil or your Sharpie or whatever you have out, right? You start filling out names, filling out numbers, filling out teams, filling out squads. First question, do you automatically advance the Zags and the Bears into the Final Four? And then I guess the second question is, what other teams are in your Final Four equation? And then enlighten the listeners. What non-top 10 teams or mid-majors do you think you might include into your Final Four calculus?
All right. So do I automatically advance the Zags and the Bears? Probably right. Yes at this point. If the tournament started tomorrow, I don't see anyone beating them. I don't. I mean, could a Huggy pop up? Sure. Yeah. But are you asking me if the bracket starts tomorrow? Yes, I'm putting them through. Now, what other teams are in the Final Four equations? I'm going to look for teams that I'm going to look for a mid-major, so we'll get to that last. I'm going to look for teams that have the ability to get hot because no one has the balance that Baylor and Gonzaga does. So I want a style or I want someone to get hot. I'm just going to rattle teams off. Michigan's been on a break, but we saw them at their best. They make threes. They got Dickinson inside. Absolutely, they can make it. Illinois looks like the most balanced team outside of Baylor and Gonzaga that's out there. And we saw them go nose-to-nose with Baylor before the big man inside Coburn got in foul trouble. So right. I like them. Virginia's got a style. I like them. We talked about Ohio State. Villanova's starting to get hot. Thank you for the cover tonight against Marquette, which you know my thoughts.
Very nice.
Mrs. Randall, Bama, next. Tennessee, all right. Well, we need some offense, but Texas Tech, I don't think they have enough. West Virginia depends on the draw. Wisconsin, not buying it. They're all 45 years old. So those would be the teams that I would say right now I would focus on. My mid-majors, popcorn's out for Loyola Chicago Drake. Let's see how that goes this weekend. Another mid-major that I'm really interested in that may or may not be part of my mid-major report on the Action Network tomorrow, dropping in the morning, is Wright State. Wright State, Gus, has a style. They are very metrically balanced. They can make threes. Loud and love inside. I've seen them against Illinois, Chicago twice. Eternal Flame didn't work out. Susanna Hoffs, she does work out. That's fine. I like their style. They have a big. They shoot threes. They play fast. They don't turn the ball over. That is the type of dangerous mid-major I'm looking at. A Drake, a Loyola Chicago, a Wright State, and of course even my guys out in the Mountain West, Colorado State. But they don't have a big inside. So that's who I'm looking at right now. Anyone else, Florida, Arkansas, I love Rutgers. Those are not teams that I would say right now are making a Final Four.
And that's exactly what the listeners are looking for. And just to speak on, your Wright State, they have a coach that has, been there, done that, has made a tournament before, and Coach Nagy. And then they have one of my favorite mid-major players, Tanner Holden. He does a little bit of everything. He's not quite Chandler Waldron, but he is a kind of quasi mini Lotto type guy in the box score that does a little bit of everything, can defend it, and can shoot it from three. So I'm with you on Wright State. And plus, when you have that, just comparing Wright State and Loyola Chicago are pretty similar, right? Because they have a kind of facsimile type player in the center with Love and Krutwig, where they just toss it in and get that paint touch. He's efficient inside. Is he gonna make a name for himself in the NBA? No, but are both of those players unbelievably efficient college basketball players? Oh, without question, yeah.
Fats Russell just chucked in a 3 at the buzzer to cover against St. Louis. I had a great night, Gus. 19-7-1, 6.63 units up. It could have been like a 9-unit night. Fats Russell with a 3. St. Louis wins by 7. They were given 8.5. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think we can throw St. Louis into that Texas Tech category, can't we? Of maybe we shouldn't be giving them a ton of points.
Yeah, I just thought Fats not being healthy and St. Louis coming off the Bonnies win. And they had this one. They were up 13, 14, 12. The Fats with 2 threes in the last 20 seconds. Come on.
Fats being Fats. He's doing his thing.
Thank you for that. Oh, that's
all right. Well, you can't win them all. I'm glad you're on a good little streak tonight. Again, please give Mike a follow over at the Action Network and on Twitter at Randall Rant. He is insightful, educational, entertaining in one college hoops tidy little package. All right, Mike, the listeners will notice that you didn't mention Duke, UNC, Kentucky, Michigan State in who's going to make a Final Four rundown. This is just a big overarching question. Do you think that March is going to lose some big name luster minus those usual suspects inside the bracket? Or is that just going to add to further intrigue and maybe another team like one of the ones you mentioned, maybe like a Wright State, maybe like a Colorado State that maybe gets a little bit more shine and can find an opportunity for a win or maybe even a run in March?
I don't think it loses any shine for the diehards like us. I will admit that if you want the ratings, you want those teams in and you want them in at a 10 seed. That's what you want. They want Duke and Kentucky. Well, probably not Kentucky. They want Duke, Michigan State, UNC especially, but they're a little bit better than this, to make a run at an 8-9 game. Because they want them to play Gonzaga in round 2. That's what they want because they want the ratings. But they're just not good, Gus. UNC's a little different. Those other 3 teams are not good. I've put this out on Twitter. Duke plays. The line comes out. Everyone bets Duke. The line goes up. Duke doesn't cover. Next game, line comes out. Everybody bets Duke. Okay, stop, guys. Notre Dame getting 7.5 was laughable.
Right.
Why? Why are they getting 7.5? They just give up 90 in Cameron like it's going out of style. You get 90s, no problem, man. That's the deal. They're just not good. Kentucky's not good. They're just not good teams. And I talked about this today, a friend of ours. It's because, Krzyzewski is a Phil Jackson. He's a cerebral. He's going to give you a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court to read. He wants you to talk to him about it. He wants to talk pig Latin in the huddle. Okay. It's not your shot. It's our shot. That's great. You know what it is? It's a dunk. Okay. And it's ball pressure and it's Posh Alexander of St. John's being a human press. That's what it's about. And given that it's COVID and he doesn't have the regular time to work with these players, it's showing. Gus, these teams are just not good. That's it. I've watched them. Michigan State the other night playing at home against Penn State. Penn State coming back. Come on.
It's painful. It's painful because you have an expectation going in, and you mentioned that expectation at the betting window with Duke, that you expect this type of excellence or this type of performance or effort or result. And, time after time after time, repetitively, we're not getting that result that we're expecting and used to. So I think people are creatures of habit. And one of the habits is all 4 of those squads are going to be in March and they're going to make some noise in March. It'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of cool if UNC was in the first 4, in the play-in game. I know they might be trending a little bit higher than that right now. That'd be interesting, though. Imagine them having to win a game to get into the main bracket.
Oh, it would be awesome. And then they win the playing game, and then they're going against USC. Okay,
right.
It'd be tremendous. But I'm going to tell you this: Duke's playing at North Carolina State on Saturday. It's going to be Duke -2. I'm going to tell you right now, hitting it early, hitting it right away. People are going to bet it. It's going to be Duke -4. North Carolina State's going to win outright. I mean, that's what's going to happen. I mean, you can see it coming. Well, they have no Devin Daniels, Matthew Hurt, we still think Matthew Hurt can actually dribble besides being a stationary shooter. No, it's okay. It's okay. No, they're going to turn it around. Okay. Give me points with the Wolfpack. Wow. It's a howl. Sorry.
Sound effects. Love it. Wolfpack, one name for NC State, of course. All right, Mike. So minus those big names, like you've really crunched some numbers here. So I guess now's the time to kind of like dive into some of this for your Randall reacts. You are a true numbers person. You can consume metrics and stats at like a Corey Kispert type level. Like your beautiful mind like tells you certain things once you consume all of these numbers. Give the listeners what you think might occur like in one of the brackets for top 4 seeds, or maybe go through a little bit of your thinking and what you're seeing. You can see this over at Last Word on Sports and, of course, on Twitter's Mike's Twitter handle. But, Mike, talk to the listeners a little bit about what you use and what you're looking at and what's going to help you make the decision of what some of those top 4 seeds might be.
Gus, I'm aroused by this. This is like this gets me excited. I can't wait.
Numbers.
I'm sorry. Bracket show is going to come out on Saturday. I'm going to be watching it. I try to get it right. I'm not going to, but I'm going to try, and I'm very excited. I want to get inside the mind of the committee. I put a lot of time into this. Now, this came out, folks, on my Monday article. I'm going to change it before Saturday, of course. Gus, they're doing S-curve again. So they're back to S-curve because it's all the same location. 1 seeds are pretty easy to me. I think they're going to give Gonzaga the overall 1. It's really not going to matter as long as Gonzaga, Baylor are on opposite sides, right? It really doesn't matter. But I think Gonzaga deserves it because of their non-conference strength of schedule. They have a strength of schedule 127, non-conference is 147. That doesn't sound like a lot, except Baylor's strength of schedule is 162 and their non-conference is 238. So you want to say Baylor's in a tougher conference? Sure, but they didn't challenge themselves. And don't forget, Gonzaga beats Iowa by basically 10 plus, not practicing for 2 weeks. I think that matters. Gonzaga 1, Baylor 2. I'm going to keep Michigan 3, although Ohio State keeps winning. They could leapfrog them. But in some order, Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, Ohio State. Okay?
Got it. Okay.
Any thoughts on the 1 seeds? Any problem with those?
No, I have zero problem with any one of those. I mean, if we're going to see if some other team is up for that, I mean, I guess we could say Illinois, but I think they're a solid 2. You want to look at somebody from the ACC. We're going to talk Virginia. I don't know if we want to include Alabama in that conversation. Do we throw Villanova from the Big East in there? This is where the lack of games played really plays a factor. But I have no problem with that top 4. No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. So then we're going to go to the 2 seeds. Now, I kept this in the back of my mind with the 2 seeds. You don't want to have a 1 and 2 seed from the same conference. And I actually DM'd Jerry Palm about this, name drop. And I said, Jerry, are they going to hold true to this, who goes in the right conference, the right seeds based on conference? He said, absolutely. So I said, all right, then I'm going to rock and roll here. So here we go, the 2 seeds. I think Alabama is going to be the number 1 2 seed. Here is why. It should be Illinois. If you look at all the wins and losses and quad 1 wins, it should be Illinois. But, Gus, they can't play Ohio State or Michigan.
Correct.
So I'm going to put Bama with Ohio State as the first 2 seed. Villanova then in the East because, again, Illinois can't play Michigan or Ohio State, okay? Right. And unless they decide that they're fine with that, but usually they don't do that with the top 2 seeds in each bracket. Illinois then plays Baylor. That's a loaded bracket. And I got Virginia as my last 2 seed against Gonzaga. They win tonight on the road at Georgia Tech. They also covered, Gus, if you follow such things. But I think we got Ohio State, Bama, great one. Michigan, Nova, solid. Baylor, Illinois, Gonzaga, UVA. What do you got?
I like them matchups, and I agree with the teams that are next to the 2 number. I guess you could quabble on order at this moment, but if you're going to put the similar conference rule into play, then that absolutely makes sense. And again, you crunch the numbers and pay attention to all this information. So that now I think the next thing that you might share out might be really interesting on where things might go next, because 3 and 4 seeds, we could go. I mean, there's literally it's littered with 15 teams that you could kind of through. Yes. So I feel like you nailed the top 8. If you want to squabble over one of them, I guess we could. We could include a Wisconsin or a Tennessee or something like that. Maybe you want to go out to the Pac-12. Sure, but I think you got it right.
The best 2 seed is Illinois. I just don't think they're going to put them with Michigan and Ohio State, who are clearly not in the Baylor Gonzaga area. Now, the 3 seeds. Their history, Gus, this is where they place the dominant team from the non-major conference.
Correct.
That's why I have Houston there. Now, Houston lost to East Carolina, which really eliminated them from the number 2 seed competition. Somebody wrote on me on Reddit, it's like, oh, you got to put Houston as a 2. Why, guys? Why am I doing that? They have 2 quad 1 wins. 2-0. They are the quintessential 3 seed. They had a very impressive neutral court win over Texas Tech. Caleb Mill was there. He didn't really play that much in that game. I think it was 7 minutes, so I don't really count it. But they lead the nation. They're number 1 in offensive rebounding in KenPom, which matters. They're 4th in Bark Torvik. They did lose to East Carolina, which is why I take them out of the 2, but I still think, Gus, they're a solid 3. The other 3 seeds now, Missouri. Gus, Missouri has 10 quad 1 and quad 2 games. Okay. Right. They raised their stock recently. They got the big win over Illinois on December 12th. That's going to count. They beat Bama. That's going to count. Missouri's got too many big wins. You have to put them in. There's no doubt about it with Missouri. The other team I had in, which could change now, this was on Monday, was Texas Tech, of course.
Right.
They got a good, strong strength of schedule. They're 59th in the country. The quad 1 wins, they only have 4 now. They're good in defensive efficiency. They did have the loss to West Virginia. They did lose to Houston. I could be wrong on Texas Tech now, but at the beginning of the week, I had them as a 3. And then the last 3 I had, Gus, was Oklahoma. And my rationale was they're behind Texas Tech. They lost Texas Tech twice by an average of 3.5 points, but they got great symmetry. They're 28th in both offensive and defensive efficiency per KenPom. They're certainly going to take into account the fact that they didn't have Austin Reeves or Alondas Williams for a couple of those games. They do take injuries into account.
Great point.
So you look at them, 4 quad 1 wins, 5-5 against quad 1, quad 2. They're fundamentally sound. They don't beat themselves. They're a tough out. I only have them above because I wasn't sure of some of the other teams. I do think West Virginia may sneak ahead of them now, but Gus, give me a react here for the 3 seeds. Cougars from the AAC, Missouri because they're scalding hot, Texas Tech at the time, and Oklahoma.
I think the one team that you might sneak in there has to be Texas, especially because you mentioned that the committee will take a look at Oklahoma minus Reeves. I think you also have to take a look at Texas minus their coach and players and then take that into account as well. And if you're going to throw around the KenPom numbers, their KenPom numbers are very similar and mirror what Oklahoma and Texas Tech have. So I think Texas is the team that maybe would sneak into that 3 seed conversation, right?
That's fair. That's totally fair. And that gives me that gives you the 4 seeds there. West Virginia, who may be a 3 over Texas Tech now after their win at Texas Tech. Texas, you just mentioned, they're great. No problem with Texas. Great numbers, by the way, with the Longhorns. 13th strength of schedule, 6th best non-conference strength of schedule. That's a big deal, by the way.
It is.
Great in KenPom, great in Bark Torvik. Shaka's done a good job. They got Brown, the exciting freshman. Then I got Wisconsin. And the one that I had a huge argument about was Purdue. The Tennessee fans went crazy. Folks, let me tell you about Purdue, okay? Purdue beat Ohio State twice. That's going to count for something. They beat Ohio State twice, period. No Liddell. That's fine. It's still a win. They got 15 quad 1, quad 2 games. 15. So they're 4-6 in quad 1. They got 15 quad 1, quad 2 games. So they're 9-6 overall. That's the most of any team out there. They lost Stefanovic for a couple games. That's going to count. Travion Williams is hot. I don't know how they got over the fact that they don't have Matt Harms anymore, but good for them. Purdue is in. I think they're in over Tennessee. That's my only debate that I have there. So, Gus, we talked about it. Texas probably going to bump them up.
Right.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Wisconsin, solid. I can't, I'm trying to find somebody else, provided they beat Nebraska tonight. And then Purdue played a lot of games, man.
I think the only other place that you can go there, I think there's a couple of destinations. Number one, I think you have to take a close look at Florida State.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. That's a great one. Here was my argument with Florida State.
Okay.
I like Florida State, but my only problem with them is they're only 2-2 in quad 1.
Right.
They're 48th strength of schedule. They're 184 non-conference, and they lost at home to UCF. And I think that your other teams like your Purdue, your Texas, your Oklahoma, they have better wins than Florida State. I think Florida State's really good, and I think they can absolutely upset someone, and no one wants to play them. But do they deserve to be in right now? 2-2 quad one and a home loss to UCF. That's my problem with Florida State.
You know who's going crazy right now? Iowa fans. They are yelling.
Iowa fans. Let me tell you something. I'm sorry, Gus, and then I'll shut up here. Okay. Iowa fans, I don't want to freaking hear from you. I don't want to hear a damn thing from you. You won tonight. Congratulations. You have gagged it in a big, big way. Everyone was on Iowa. Gus, they've hit the skids. They lost 4 of 5 games. Indiana home, Indiana away, Illinois away, Ohio State home. You beat Michigan State at home, but you didn't cover, and you beat Rutgers tonight by 13. Gus, the Trae Young Oklahoma team got in as a top 4 seed when they had lost 3 in a row, but they had big, big wins. Who's the big win for Iowa? North Carolina Central, North Carolina by 13, Iowa State, Purdue, I guess, at home. Where's your big win? I don't see it. You beat Nebraska twice. Great job.
I think you nail it with the Purdue win. And so I think those are the teams that might have something to quabble about or something.
Iowa. Enough with Iowa. Yeah. Oh, Hawkeye fans.
And so no Kansas. Interesting.
I can't. It's just too many.
Not saying they belong there, but just saying interesting because they are usually part of the first part of that conversation. Unbelievable work. So if you want want a further dive, go check out Last Word on Sports. Check out Mike's Twitter handle. All of his work is in there, so you can dive a little bit deeper on where his head is at and what else he uses to help make these tough decisions. I can't wait to see what your recalculation is going into Saturday. That sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really excited. I'll do it over the next couple of days, and I'll plug it in. I feel pretty solid on this one, man. It's just a question of Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Purdue. Maybe Tennessee gets in, maybe.
I'm a little higher on Tennessee, right? I'm a little higher.
Yeah, Iowa. No Eve Ponds tonight. They beat Georgia, fine, but no cover. It's fine, but Iowa, I get. I'm sorry. I can't. Who we put? Purdue, I guess, but Purdue beat Ohio State twice.
Right.
All right, I'm done.
I think you're arguing against yourself there. I mean, if we're gonna just throw one other team into that conversation, I think we have to mention USC. They absolutely wiped the floor with UCLA, who was leading the Pac-12, and they seem like they're kind of figuring a couple of things out. Have only dropped 3 games. A top 15 team via KenPom. Absolute terror on the defensive end with all that length that they have with both Mobleys. Can they score enough? I guess that's the question. And that might be another squad that might have something.
It's a good one. USC is a good one, and they had that big win. They could be in the recalculation because the committee is going to want to get some West Coast in there.
Correct.
15-3 Gus, 37 strength of schedule, 38th non-conference. That's solid.
Yep.
10-1 at home, 3-1 against Quad 1.
Right.
So they're in. And by the way, again, I'm positive on this one because we've seen it over and over again. Folks, I love Drake and Loyola Chicago. They are not getting a top 4 seed. I don't care what happens. They don't have the wins. They're not going to do it. USC could get in, Gus. They could bump somebody out. Absolutely true.
Yeah, and if we remember, just from a couple of years ago when that Nevada team was unbelievably dominant inside their conference, they just snuck in and got a 4 seed.
That's correct. Yeah, they're not. Loyola Chicago and Drake aren't getting in. But I'll tell you something, Gus. That's the 5 seed no one wants to see.
Oh, you are correct, young man. You are correct. Nobody wants to be playing that. Oh,
Krutwig in the post, 4 shooters, Braden Norris. Oh my God, no one wants that team.
No, that'd be disastrous. Oh my gosh. All right, let's get to one of the fun parts of the podcast. We'll go with
give it to me.
Love this part. I am so excited to start with my first player for Gus Got Next. We are waiting on the sidelines. We have next game. We got winner, and here is my squad that we're going to roll with. I am so excited to say the name Matt Lewis and say the school, James Madison University. The senior wing is averaging over 20 points a game, and JMU is sitting with only 1 loss in conference right now currently. This blows my mind. Don't look now, but my Dukes just might surprise some folks down the stretch. Lewis is playing the most efficient basketball of his high-scoring college career. So we're starting the squad off with Matt Lewis, 20-point-a-game scorer. I think this week we have to include Devontae Shuler from Ole Miss. Senior guards win games in March, right, Mike? Guess what? They win them in February or anytime on the calendar. Shuler did just that against star guard Sharif Cooper and Auburn. Cooper ties the game in overtime with under 20 seconds to play on a 3-pointer on a scramble play. That's almost to be expected from Cooper at this point. But then Shuler, who is guarded by Cooper on the other end, hits a ridiculous fadeaway top of the key, Chris Paul-ish type jumper, guarded really well by Cooper at the buzzer for the win for coach Kermit Davis. Schuler dazzled all evening. He had 26 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, and 2 steals. I'll take him on my squad any month agnostic. It does not have to be March. Then let's go to, you know what? We got Joe Pleasant from Abilene Christian. 6'8" junior, put up a career high, 22 points and 9 boards in an 82-69 win this week. The Wildcats are kind of crushing teams inside the Southland. They hold a 6-game win streak, and they sit at 16-3 overall and 8-1 in conference. Pleasant is the perfect complementary player for 7-footer Colton Cole. We always love complementary players on Gus Got Next. And you mentioned Purdue. One of the reasons Purdue might just sneak into that top 4 seeding party is Jaden Ivy. The 6'4" freshman guard has, you mentioned those 2 wins over Ohio State. He's growing up right in front of our Big Ten eyes. He just might be one of those players that kind of blows up in March and wins a game or 2 or maybe more by himself, like he's kind of already done this season. And he can get up on both ends of the floor, on both ends of the court. He's got legit hops. He's a different type of athlete than we might usually see at Purdue. So my squad is Matt Lewis, James Madison University, Devontae Schuler, late game shot maker from Ole Miss, Joe Pleasant, the complimentary 6'8" forward from Abilene Christian, and Jaden Ivy from Purdue, that freshman guard that just might surprise in March, Mike.
That is a superior squad. Devontae Schuler, so underrated for our guy Kermit Davis, hitting big shots on a team that has to play defense because they don't have Breon Tyree anymore, any of the big scorers. He has really stepped up. When he makes shots, they are great because the defense always comes. Abilene Christian, I love Jaden Ivy. You know I have my thoughts on him. Big shots for Purdue. Matt Lewis at JMU, just providing a lot of excitement. Big wins by JMU. As always, you go all the way around. You pick big, small. I love it, man. This and your road trip is just great content. It really is.
Just trying to hit some places that don't normally hit for the sport that we love, Mike. That's why we do it for the listeners out there. What else do you got? Do you have a game or 2 that you're looking forward to later on this week or this weekend for the listeners out there? Something that you might have your eyes on that is you're leaning one way or the other?
Yeah, we'll start on Friday, which is always exciting. I have to pick tomorrow on the Action Network, and I blew it last week. I did the whole eternal flame with Illinois Chicago. I said his defense is going to show up. It did show up, Gus. They just didn't cover, but I should have taken the under on that. So a couple interesting games here. Georgia Tech, Clemson. Clemson's kind of coming back here a little bit. Georgia Tech's going the wrong way. Clemson's going to be home. They play tough defense. I kind of like Clemson in that game. Winthrop going to Radford. I'm all over Radford.
Really? Okay.
Winthrop has been going the wrong way. They have not been covering lately. Mm-hmm. I saw them against UNC Ash. It did not shock me that they didn't cover against UNC Ash twice. Mm-hmm. Radford ready to go. Everyone's going to be on Winthrop. Radford's going to be getting points. I may pick that one for the tournament for the pick there, the 6-pack. And then also I have had this, Gus, very odd love affair with Temple lately.
Yes,
I've watched them a couple times, and I've seen how they've performed. Damian Dunn, there's a lot of Khalif Wyatt in Damian Dunn. Freshman Gus gets to the rim, gets fouled, and ones. They played really tough on the road there against Wichita State. Thank you for the cover. Khalif Battle has finally gotten healthy. Yep. Really good freak athlete, attacks the basket. Really impressed with them. I like them going against Cincinnati. They lost at home to Cincinnati. I'm not impressed with Cincinnati. I think they have identity. David Julius is good in 5-minute spurts. Temple's going to be getting like 7-8 points in that game. I really like them a lot as well. So just a couple there that jumped out at me on Friday. And then Saturday, just a couple here to make mention of.
Right.
Villanova going at Creighton. Get your popcorn ready. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that game. Villanova Creighton. What do you think about that? It's good. Right now, Ken Palm's got a Villanova by 1.
That sounds just about right. I was going to say this sounds like a singular digit game. And I would lean Villanova. And just because I think they're going to do enough on the defensive end to limit what Creighton likes to do. These teams actually have a similar offensive approach. where they're going to put that ball in their point guard's hand and let him make good decisions to shooters that are surrounding. But I think Villanova just does it a little bit better. I'm not saying that, we're not saying that we don't like Zagorowski, and I still have my love affair for the Blue Jays. But I think that Villanova just does all those things a tiny bit better. And I think once they got back after that Seton Hall game, got that one bad game out of their system inside the Big East, I think this is the one that they're going to be focused on and ready to roll. So I'm going to lean Villanova here. And I lean Villanova just because I think that they're going to mirror each other, but Villanova's just going to do it a little bit better.
Yep, I think we're spot on. I see the Villanova-Texas game kind of reminds me of how this game is going to go. And Loyola Chicago, Gus, all I know is whoever you like in the first game, pick the opposite team on the second game.
You got that.
Yeah, I think the flip-flop is going to happen. So I don't know who people like. I'm going to lean Drake being at home, getting points in the first game.
Yep.
But whoever you like in that first game, take the other team because I don't think anybody's sweeping.
No, I would definitely not say sweep. And I think the lines are going to be pretty.
Ken Palm's got it, Loyola Chicago by 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, a single possession game, right?
Okay. Yep.
And I think the thing that you might want to pay attention to here is just the overall athleticism that Drake is going to bring on the perimeter. I'm not 100% sure that Loyola Chicago is going to be able to contain that. But then you go flip the script. And does Drake have somebody inside that's going to be able to at least maneuver with and body up against Krutwig? I'm not sure. Coaching matchup is fantastic. So It's one where you're just like, all right, just give me both of these games. I just want to watch both of them.
Yeah, that's all I got, partner.
All right. Well, listeners, that's all we have as well. So listeners, thank you. Thank you for letting us be part of your college basketball landscape and being one of your college basketball conduits. We're happy to share some information with you and get into the conversation for the sport that we love. If you really like what you're listening to, please don't forget to give the podcast a follow on Twitter at SDS Podcast. Efficiency of keystrokes, of course. As we mentioned earlier in the production, don't forget to give Mike a follow over at Randall Rant. You can see his rankings and his top 4 seeds over there as well, and anything else that he has in the works for Action Network. And they do a great 6-pack of picks with our buddies from the 3-Man Weave. And Stuckey and Colin are involved as well, right?
Oh, yeah. 3-Man Weave, Stuckey and Colin. Yeah, we make our picks tomorrow. Got to get back on the saddle. Rough week last week.
All right, well, we'll get it right this week. Come on, Mike. Let's get rolling. Right. Come on. So don't forget to follow Mike over there. And if you really like what you're listening to, spread some kindness. Go to your podcast consumption vehicle of choice and leave a nice review or something nice that, you're enjoying the sport and you're enjoying the conversation that we're bringing to you. So thank you, listeners out there. Mike, any other snowblower advice for anybody?
No snowblower. Guys, do the electric start, please, for God's sake.
Okay. All right, cilantro. Grazie. Arigato.
To the appetite, reserve the seat in advance, and get cozy in the candlelight.